Max Frisch's Andorra, 1961, is a powerful and haunting parable about the devastating effects of prejudice and the human failure to confront and resist systemic injustice. Although the title refers to the small European principality of Andorra, the setting is fictional and bears no relation to the real country. Instead, the play is an allegorical stage for Frisch's exploration of anti-Semitism, social conformity, and the mechanisms of scapegoating, using the Holocaust and post-war guilt as its implicit backdrop. Historical context and form. Frisch, a Swiss playwright and novelist, wrote Andorra during a time when Europe was still reckoning with the moral catastrophes of World War II. Switzerland, Frisch's homeland, maintained a controversial neutrality during the war and faced criticism for its treatment of Jewish refugees. Frisch's play indirectly critiques this complicity, particularly the tendency to adopt a passive stance in the face of moral crisis. The work was conceived as part of Frisch's broader project of critical theater, aimed at making audiences uncomfortable and provoking reflection. The structure of Andorra is emblematic of epic theater, influenced heavily by Bertolt Brecht. The play avoids naturalistic immersion. Instead, it disrupts audience identification through techniques such as direct address, stark lighting, minimal props, and the use of build scenes that are announced by titles, creating a distancing effect. Moreover, the play incorporates confessions from the characters, monologues delivered to the audience after the protagonist's death, revealing their roles in his tragedy and confronting the audience with their complicity. Plot overview. Andorra centers on the story of Andri, a young man believed to be a Jewish orphan, adopted by a teacher in the small town of Andorra. Throughout the play, Andri experiences discrimination and exclusion due to his supposed Jewish identity. The townspeople project various stereotypical traits onto him. He is labeled as greedy, cowardly, untrustworthy, despite a lack of any evidence to support these views. The town's collective prejudice steadily isolates him, culminating in his eventual surrender to the invading blacks, an authoritarian fascist force, and his death. In a devastating twist, it is revealed that Andri is not actually Jewish. He is the biological son of the teacher and a woman from the invading country. The teacher's fabrication of Andri's identity was an attempt to hide his affair and cowardice, creating a tragic irony. Andri dies for a lie, and yet the prejudices projected onto him became real in their consequences. This central paradox is crucial to Frisch's argument. Identity is shaped not only by heritage, but by how society chooses to see and treat individuals. Themes and motifs. 1. Prejudice as projection. One of the most striking elements of Andorra is the way it shows how stereotypes and prejudices are not reflections of truth, but projections of societal fears, insecurities, and moral failings. The people of Andorra each view Andri through the lens of their assumptions about what it means to be Jewish. For instance, the carpenter sees him as overly ambitious and stingy, the soldier as cowardly, and the doctor as intellectually inferior. These traits are not inherent to Andri, but are the town's mirror images of their own biases and expectations. Frisch's play asserts that prejudice does not require the presence of difference. It can create difference through belief and repetition. Haber 2. The banality of evil. In Andorra, the townspeople are not overt villains. They are ordinary people, teachers, priests, soldiers, tradesmen, who participate in injustice through small acts of silence, rationalization, and conformity. The teacher's original lie sets the tragedy in motion, but it is the community's failure to confront their assumptions and speak out that seals Andri's fate. This echoes Hannah Arendt's concept of the banality of evil, which suggests that evil is often carried out not by monsters, but by ordinary people who failed to question the systems they inhabit. And 3. Identity and self-perception. Andri's psychological journey is central to the play. Initially resistant to the labels placed upon him, he eventually begins to internalize the community's view of him as other. His love for Barblin, the teacher's daughter, and unknowingly his half-sister, is complicated by his belief in his outsider status. Frisch here explores the destructive power of social identity, how an individual shape can be shaped, distorted, and even destroyed by the identities others impose upon them. Andri's fatalism in the end, his acceptance of his victimhood, underscores how deeply societal perceptions can affect self-perception. Hasher 4. Silence and complicity. One of the most morally damning aspects of the play is the silence of those who know the truth. The teacher, the priest, and the doctor all know Andri is not Jewish, but allow the myth to persist. Their silence is justified through cowardice, indifference, or a misguided desire to avoid scandal. Frisch condemns this passivity as moral failure. The play thus becomes a searing critique of bystanders and a call for moral courage in the face of injustice. 5. Symbols and setting. Although Frisch titled the play Andorra, the fictional town functions as a symbolic space, in every town, emblematic of any society that enacts or permits prejudice. The invading force, the blacks, represent authoritarianism, anti-Semitism, and fascist ideologies, yet they are never fully personified. Their presence serves as an external pressure that reveals the internal rot of the Andorran society. The whitewashing of houses in the opening scene, done by Barblin, a seemingly innocent task, becomes a metaphor for whitewashing guilt and complicity. Dramatic techniques. Frisch's use of the Lehrstück didactic play format positions Andorra within the tradition of moral instruction. The audience is not merely entertained, but implicated. The confessional monologues are especially powerful in this regard. Each character justifies their behavior with weak excuses, leaving the audience to judge them. The fragmentation of time and narrative also reinforces the sense that we are watching a post-mortem examination, a reconstruction of a crime against humanity. The use of ambiguity is another effective technique. The audience is never told where Andorra is or who the blacks are meant to represent. This abstraction universalizes the play's themes. The audience cannot dismiss the story as belonging to a specific place or time. Instead, they are encouraged to see it as potentially unfolding anywhere. Prejudice and cowardice are allowed to flourish. Has relevance today. Despite being written over 60 years ago, Andorra remains deeply relevant. Its themes, scapegoating, othering, silent complicity, and the psychological toll of prejudice, continue to resonate in contemporary society. Whether in discussions of race, religion, migration, or social division, the mechanisms Frisch exposes are still at work. The play challenges audiences to consider their role. Are they merely witnesses to injustice, or are they participants in systems that sustain it? The question of identity politics also finds a contemporary echo in Andorra. The way Andri's identity is constructed and deconstructed by society anticipates modern debates about social labeling, intersectionality, and the politics of recognition. The psychological violence done to him mirrors the experiences of many marginalized individuals whose identities are judged and constrained by stereotypes rather than self-definition. Conclusion. Max Frisch's Andorra is a masterfully crafted parable that distills the moral crisis of a society that fails to protect the vulnerable and confront its own prejudice. Through the tragic figure of Andri, Frisch explores how lies, silence, and projection lead not only to individual ruin, but to collective guilt. The play demands that we, as spectators, not remain passive. It calls on us to question our assumptions, confront our biases, and take moral responsibility for the kind of society we help sustain. Andorra remains a testament to the dangers of othering, a mirror held up to any community willing to look, and a chilling reminder that the absence of truth and courage can be as deadly as open hatred.